Uh-oh. What is this?
Pogo Joust.
It's going to be
Our friend
episode
Matt,
3 of this session. It's been a live one.
Indeed.
An aggressive game player.
Oh, yeah.
Well cast.
Here we go. Good
You know,
luck.
like a
And,
computer game?
I think Brian's been waiting.
No, they play Pogo Joust on the rooftops of Brooklyn.
And what's the
Jonathan sits on a monogram pillow.
Game night or Pogo Joust. It's called Pogo Joust.
And it's online?
So Chris is talking about a short film I was one of the stars of many years ago.
Big at the box office?
Somehow he saw that.
Because he's friends with the person who made it, right?
That is correct.
That's the somehow.
Still, it's amazing he saw it to me.
One bracelet, 3 summers in a row.
Oh, it's
What's his name?
How did you break any Marvel records?
I think for like excellent acting, yes.
Ah.
I broke that record.
Anyway, poker. Wheels in the small blind here with ace-5. Joe has limped yet again.
Wheel raises very small from the small blind. He does have the best hand.
It's like 6, right? Thank you. I'm less nervous now.
Okay.
Nino's going to come along from the big. And Joe's, of course, going to call now with
Yeah.
the queen-9 suited.
I'm just going to go with that seems reasonable. It's like I'm shopping for shirts. $30, all right.
Yeah, you don't want to
Three
be
players.
shopping for
Double gutter for wheel.
Oh, sounds good right now.
If you find it on your phone, I'd be curious. I was just searching for it and didn't see it. So.
60.
60 is the bet.
It's a great flop when you raise and get called in 2 spots with the ace-5.
You know, has to fold bottom pair. Well, he doesn't have to, but it's totally reasonable too.
Yeah.
And Joe really, I don't think Joe can continue either.
Well, that would be kind of crazy if he did, wouldn't it?
Yep. And Wheel gets to win. Wheel always looks so serious.
It's his poker face.
Yeah. He could have like a chill poker face, though.
Well, he doesn't.
No, he does not. It's true. He's like got the...
Most poker faces are pretty serious. There's not many chill poker faces.
Yeah, it's true.
Who's got a chill poker face?
Dan Negreanu.
That's not a poker face. That's him talking.
No, when he's sitting there waiting for people and stuff, or people are trying to read him,
Not-
he's usually smiling, looking at them.
Not when he was trying to actually take it seriously and like be serious. He looked angry as hell.
How about now? Now that he's not doing
I don't
it
know
anymore.
what the current state of Negreanu is. Chris is going to open to 50, sizing it up under the gun here.
Yep. King Jack off for Joe. There's a call. I'll go with King 6 suited. Let's it go. Real hand here for Luca.
Probably going to see a 3-bet here.
Yeah, for sure.
Raise 250. Fold. Fold. Fold.
Pretty big.
It's probably
Nines
just
goes
gonna,
away. Nine's in the muck.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's probably just going to get rid of these hands too, unless
Yeah.
Joe gets really sticky for some reason.
Chris has an insta fold, and he usually folds quickly. Could he be? He's definitely not going to call. I know that. Could he be thinking about a 4-bet? Maybe.
Oh, boy.
He's at least considering it.
If he does this, it's going to be tough on Luca. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a good spot.
He is 4-betting.
Wow.
This is great. He's under the gun. He has a blocker.
This might work.
Really tough spot for Luca.
Like, you just feel like you're throwing away your money if you put in the 5-bet shove. Calling is like you're just in no man's land.
And you've got a stacked up out ratio that's just disastrous. You know, Chris is going to have one pot back. You're going to be forced to call most shoves. And you just feel like you're behind so often.
This is why some people might just flat the queens sometimes to avoid this situation.
That said, you still have queens as the 3rd best hand in poker.
Yeah.
And you can be good here. But
He lets it go.
He does let it go.
We haven't seen Chris going nuts. He shows the 6.
Oh. It's got to hurt, Luca. It just got to hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, 250. Look how quick Chris picks up those chips.
He's like a velociraptor with those chips.
I blame you, Luca, for not just.
It was 2 6 of hearts, so we know if.
How can somebody flex call you? He saw what happened to me.
It's the free roll.
Yeah, the free roll.
What happened to you?
It's good when you get there.
Goes all the
Oh, it's a misty.
So razor.
It's fun to get that one through.
It is.
Really, really hurts when you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Really bad to lose $700 on a bluff there.
Yeah. Instead, Luca has to feel the pain since he
Yeah.
got to see that he was clearly way ahead.
Call.
Joe's gonna, make
Stick around.
make that call. Wouldn't advise it at home. Wankel folding the ace jack.
Yeah.
Digital Dan's reputation precedes him.
Yeah, Wonka's generally not calling under the gun raises with ace jack off when he's not on the button or
Yeah.
the big blind.
Fold.
Elwood
Now-
with it.
Now Elwood's got queens. Is he gonna make the same mistake Luca did? I'm kidding. It wasn't a mistake. He does raise 155. This is probably just gonna get through everybody unless Wheel decides to call. Elwood's probably not deep enough for Wheel to call though. If he had Wheel stack, Wheel could call.
I mean, Digital Dan is a standard play here would be to fold for sure. Digital Dan maybe talking himself into I've got position on this guy.
He saw what Chris
I
just did.
Flop pretty well sometimes with this hand. Don't flop that well though, and he knows it. He gets rid of it. No chance Joe's sticking around. Like you said, it's just down to Wheel, who will have position.
But not a good enough stack behind for Elwood to win if he hits a
Probably
set.
not. No. If Joe somehow puts in the call, though, Wheel's going to be obligated to call as well.
If Joe somehow puts in the call, that's the story. That's the story of the hand.
Joe is thinking. Is he thinking about putting in a out of nowhere 4-bet himself? I don't think this one would work.
That would be better than a call.
Yep. I don't think it would work, but it would be better than a call. Well, does have position and a pocket pair.
Elwood's shown a little speed this session.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to ultimately see a call here. I think this is just Wheel doing his thing, but a call is not terrible by any means.
If your purpose is only to set mine, it is terrible.
Of course. No, you definitely have to bet when check to and things like that. Now he's going to fold. Oh! He told him he set mining and called.
That's
What?
he's not lying.
Wow. That's unusual.
Yep.
That means you shouldn't show one.
Heads up.
Pretty good flop for queens. Not a terrible flop for sixes.
If Wheel's
Unless
telling
you're set
if Wheel's
mining.
telling the truth, you feel great as Elwood because
Yeah.
there's not many sets out there.
Yeah, you're not too worried about jacks and you're not too worried about pocket eights. That's for sure. See how Elwood sizes this.
160 is a bet.
Pretty small, like 40% of the pot.
If I show you one, it'll kill the action.
Jack?
I don't think showing him one's gonna do any good. Wheel.
I'll take it.
Wheel shows his hand and folds.
Told the truth about set mining. I think he needed to take a little bit more time to inspect Elwood's stack to see if it was really worth set mining before doing it.
Well, again, if you're not, as you said, if you're not just set mining, you can call for sure. But
Well,
only
he,
set
he
mining is
actually
fine.
claimed to be set mining, and I,
I
think
know.
it was accurate. I think he was not lying.
Well, when he folds on that board for that price, it seems like he's set mining.
Pretty confident it's not kings or aces when they say they're set mining.
I don't know.
All the same thing.
It's a lot
Could
of
have been
respect.
jacks or quad eight.
I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should believe him that he has a pair. I don't know. I'm skeptical.
Pocket eights
You were-
right
you
there.
were telling
That
the
flop. Obviously, six pocket eights.
I wouldn't have been drawing dead against pocket.
Well, Joe's gonna keep. He's gonna win the all-time VPIP war of poker time. I think he's gonna end up with the highest.
I mean, by a lot, probably, right? What do you think is the highest percentage?
Somebody's probably hit 60 at some point.
Probably, yeah. Early Batiste,
I don't know about
early
Batiste.
Action Aaron.
Action Aaron or Terminator, I would think would
Yeah.
be the crown holder.
There's no way Joe is not going to beat 60. Now, Digital Dan's thinking, boy, there's just been so much action. Is Digital Dan going to go for a squeeze here? It's not a bad play with ace-10 off at all.
It would probably work too.
Yep.
It looks like he's pulling the trigger.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Raise 160.
I mean, it's not a squeeze in sort of a traditional sense that there's only one raiser so far and just a bunch of limpers, but still.
He's squeezing the money out of these fools. That's what he's doing.
Will Elwood fold? He's definitely supposed to. He's getting a good price, but he's supposed to fold with this hand.
Let's just see a 4-bet. Let's go nuts on this table. More and more.
He is
He
going to
calls.
call. He's on the button, actually. I thought he was in the small blind. He's actually on the button. That makes this a better
Makes
call.
it better.
This is a reasonable call.
Suited would be a lot better.
Oh, suited is like an easy call. It makes it more reasonable.
Well, that's a flop that Dan's going to win on unless he decides to give up and Elwood decides to bluff.
I think Dan is definitely going to bet here.
Elwood has a lot of pocket pairs here, which kind of sucks on this board, but you just got to take a shot anyway.
You take a shot with the plan on betting a lot of turns, I think, and usually you get it through. You're going to do that with your overpairs also?
Then you're really fucked.
Dan has a big range advantage here as far as overpairs are concerned.
No doubt.
So it's not really a good spot for Elwood to bluff, although it would work.
Elwood's really thinking. Look at him. He's really watching Dan also.
He's
raising?
floating. It looks
He's
like
float. Wow.
This is cool.
Wow. Elwood's making so many plays.
This is a cool float. I wonder if he picked up a tell on Dan.
It is possible. He is our tells expert. All right, is Dan going to keep going here? I think he's really obligated to if he's going to bet the flop.
Yeah, Elwood has a lot of 8s, 9s, 10s that are going to be afraid of a continuation bet here.
Well, what's Elwood going to do if Dan continues? Is he really going to make a play anyway?
Dan is continuing. Yeah,
I
think this is going to be the end of Elwood's plan. Elwood's plan was
looks like a big one.
Dan checks the turn. That was Elwood's plan.
350. All right, not humongous. A little over half the pot.
If Elwood raises right here, that would be just phenomenal
Be
television.
Super sick. Elwood cannot be thinking about calling, so he must be considering raising, right? Watch him. Again, really looking at Dan now. Look at that. He's staring at him.
If he raises, he's repping a set at this point.
He's bird dogging the hell out of him. Yeah, he's repping a set, or maybe 7-6 suited.
Yeah, a little 7-6 suited.
A little 4-5 suited. Yeah. But yeah.
And
two pair are better for sure.
Feels like mostly a set of 7s.
7s and 6s make probably the most reasonable sense, right? Like,
yeah.
Even 7s make the most sense if he raises here, though. You're right. Most likely hand.
Dan is just in that mode where you're like, I just don't want to look or think or do anything. I just hope you fold. Just put the cards in the muck, please. Please go away.
Elwood is reaching.
Oh,
is he going to make this
like
play?
Real. He's doing it.
He does it. He makes it 1,000.
This is great.
Wow.
Now, the thing about this play that is so ambitious is that he has to be partially targeting overpairs.
There's no question he's targeting aces, I think. He thinks he can get Dan to fold aces here.
And Dan is thinking about not believing him, even though...
That sounds crazy.
I mean, it's basically a call because Elwood's almost all in here.
How can you not believe him? What's Elwood supposed to have that he called the flop bet with?
King Jack.
How are you ever supposed to be ahead here? Somehow Dan is ahead. That's what he comes to, and he's got to throw it away. What a play by Zach Elwood.
That was a great play. I don't know if it was the right time, but it was a great play.
Well, the thing is, Elwood was staring at him so much, I think he decided Digital Dan was weak and was rolling with his read.
I mean, that's his advantage on the game, right? He's the tells guy, so...
He's written 3 books, and I think he's really showing us that it is not just voodoo.
Yeah, he did it to Nino.
Yeah, he sure did.
He made a crazy fold, which didn't make any sense. But
except he did it clearly off of a tell that Nino gave him, off a verbal tell.
That one would have been a more subtle physical tell that he got from Dan if he used that. But I don't see any other reason he made that play right there because Dan is uncapped there. Dan has all the big overpairs, and usually you don't want to target those.
Zach is not one who normally goes after like strong hands.
Yeah,
we've never seen him do it. So I think he absolutely had a physical tell on Dan. He was really watching him.
That's really cool.
That was great. Not so good for Dan when he sees this later, but great for the audience.
Dan's not gonna love it.
Oh, okay.
And Elwood now starting to feel his oats. Opening with the Jack 5 suited.
Dan might want to get Elwood's number, see how much Elwood's gonna charge to tell him what the tell was.
It's probably gonna be a lot.
Yeah.
Joe flops best.
He flops only.
Joe, don't lead into the razor. Let him bet.
Joe likes to lead with top pair a lot.
Joe does.
Or any sort
middle
of
pair.
Yeah. Joe leads a lot.
Elwood's going to float. Does have 2 back doors.
He's feeling real special right now.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm the guy who can do anything, anytime, ever, and nobody. And
Digital Dan goes out of position.
This is like Phil Ivey stuff.
What is happening?
This is the overfloat out of position.
Oh my gosh! What a crazy card.
That
on the
is
turn.
an insane card.
Joe is very strong, and the other 2 guys have got club draws.
What's happening? I like the check by Joe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think I was ahead that often with ace-5.
Now, if Elwood bets, is Digital Dan going to make a play? It looks like Elwood could have trip aces. This is not a great time to make a play. I guess he can just call because he's got the club
ace
draw.
of clubs is not the club you want to see if you overfloat with the 7-6 of clubs.
I think Dan has too much equity to raise here against what is often going to be a very strong range. I think a call makes sense. It's only 60.
It would be such a gross river card if the club comes and like
God.
Dan can't put Elwood on clubs.
Nope.
Elwood floated and Dan overfloated.
Dan is reaching. It might be raising. That's raising chips.
What is Joe going to do?
I don't know. I think Joe's got no kicker. It really looks like Dan has an ace.
It looks like Dan has a full house.
He's at least got a very good ace.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Ace Jack plus.
And you know what? Ace Jack is not raising here, is it?
Dan might. I wouldn't.
Joe's
not believing.
Probably. Oh, he does have a very strong hand himself.
He raises.
What in the world is happening?
Is that a bluff?
Blah.
It can't be a value bet because you are 0% ever getting called by a worse hand.
You can fold out some slightly better aces. Blah. I got nothing else.
This is a bonkers, wacky play from Joe. Everybody's been playing this hand crazy.
Maybe Joe thinks by raising here he can get sort of, quote, perfect information from Dan. Dan's never going to re-raise him without a hand that's crushing him.
Dan is not going away.
Dan's calling because he feels like, wow, Dan does not think Joe can have a full house here, which is also ambitious. Also, Dan's got a terrible club draw.
Stack the pot is about
Dan
1 to 1.
misses. Joe now will never fold.
Yeah, this is a terrible card for Dan.
Dan should really just check give up here.
Yeah. And he looks like that's the case. Yeah.
Joe should bet for value, but
Joe just checks it back.
Assume I'm out kicked.
I don't think this was good.
See if I'm out kicked, he said.
Joe doesn't realize he has a full house.
I don't think he realized there was a full house.
Husband was a senator and died. That's kind of how when she took over. Is that right?
I don't know.
The only thing that makes sense is Joe didn't realize that there were 2 9s on the board.
I mean, he did say, let's see if I'm out kicked.
Yeah. I'm not exactly. I don't remember.
Joe got pretty good value.
Crazy value.
Now, if he just calls the turn, he may get value on the river anyway. Although maybe not. Dan may give up on the 9 pairs. It's not clear.
What a phenomenal pair of hands we just had.
Unbelievable. I wonder if Dan makes that play because he had to fold the hand before or not. I wonder if those hands are actually connected or not.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, like, the overfloat seems like an ambitious intellectual plan for somebody who's tilting.
I wish she did.
Right.
So
I think it's probably a bad plan in general, though. Like overfloating out of position. It seems kind of crazy.
It's kind of crazy, but it's kind of awesome.
It's kind of awesome. And I don't even know, man. That was great.
That was great. Every hand in poker time should be like those 2 hands.
One day.
It's on me. I raise.
Wankel is not abiding this limping.
Wankel, once again, he did this last session too, or last episode too, where there were a few limpers to him, and he just made it huge, made it 70, and just took it down with, I think it was Queen Jack.
Queen Jack. I think it was 2 episodes ago, in fact, but
all the same.
Nino with a nice looking hand, but decides to let it go.
When Nino folds, I gotta believe we're now gonna have a cascading group of folders. But see, Digital Dan is calling, and Digital Dan is on tilt.
Yeah, that might be a little tilty there.
Digital Dan is never normally calling Wonka's raise with 8-5.
And Joe's looks like he's gonna come along with a 7-6 offsuit.
This game is so far out of the muck.
Yeah, it's a good game.
You don't even know where the muck is.
It's in Muckville.
The muck has disappeared. Okay, well, Digital Dan with a pair and a straight draw. Joe with a pair and a straight draw.
Better pair and a straight draw.
Wonka with just overs. I don't think Wonka's going to fire too often at this one, though.
No, I wouldn't think so. Joe might lead.
Joe always leads, right? So Wonka does bet. I don't know what's happening anymore. Up is down, black is white, dogs and cats living together. Locusts.
Locusts?
Yeah.
What about them?
It's a quote.
I mean, you gave a lot of different, like, dichotomous opposite type things, and then you said locusts.
Yeah. It's a quote. I'm quoting a movie that you've seen, by the way.
Silence of the Lambs?
Clarice. And somehow...
That's how Wonka does it.
Some way Wonka turns top pair. What a miracle card. Digital Dan with only 750 left.
It's kind of a scary top pair to have against 2 opponents on this board.
Well, with Dan only having 750, it's not so bad against him. Not so great against Joe.
Don't love losing $750.
Well, you're always going to lose some of it.
Well,
no
you're
matter
not,
what you do.
because he's ahead. So maybe take a look at the percentages for a second.
Wonka really thinking about this. He's almost always ahead here. 9-10 zooms ahead, of course. 6-8 was already ahead anyway. I guess there could be some 7-10s in there.
Wanka's going to keep betting with just a 10.
Yeah, he wants to charge the gutters and the pairs and the gutters and stuff.
Dan is now open-ended. So,
yeah.
I don't know. You think he can still fold?
250. He's getting 3-1 right now. He'll have another. He is just getting the right price to call.
Depending on what he's against.
Of course, depending on what he's against. And, of course, assuming Joe doesn't raise here.
I think Joe's done now.
I would think for 250 that he is out. Like the gout.
Out like the gout?
Yeah, it's no longer around.
No, that has not been cured. It's just less frequent.
Okay, so out like the gout. Not so much around. I'm right.
Well, okay.
Okay, so miss for Digital Dan. Okay, Digital Dan has a half a pot here, and Wonka's got to decide, should he go for value or not?
It's tough to get called by a worse hand.
At the same point, I think even King 10 is going to bet if you check to him, right?
King 10 is not in the hand.
Of course not.
Yeah.
My point is, if you're Wonka and you're sitting there, you're thinking every single better hand gets all my money anyway. Literally every. So let's try and get called by a worse hand.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That would be my thinking anyway. This is
it just really sucks when you get snap called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you get snap called, you were going to lose the 500 anyway.
Well, assuming you're check calling.
You are. Are you really not going to check call for half a pot with top pair?
I guess you have to put him on ace 8 if you're going to check call.
Or just, a pair and a gut shot that didn't know what to do. I mean,
5-6.
So he does move him in. 5-6, 8-5, something like that. And Digital Dan is now. I mean, I think Digital Dan's still feeling the effects of the Elwood hand from 2 hands ago.
All Wonka has done is raise pre-flop and bet 3 streets. It feels very unlikely that a 5 is ahead. Maybe Dan thinks the board is too scary for an overpair to bet this many times, and that's what's making him think he might be ahead here.
He feels like Wonka's just polarized.
To having like a set or
like ace king, ace queen, whatever, just overs. He's thinking about it. It is true that Wonka seems to be somewhat polarized, and he is not as strong as you would think. However, he is strong enough to make this bet. Just barely strong enough. Wonka's got to be loving it when Dan is thinking and doesn't call right away but hasn't folded. This is exactly the range he wants Dan to have.
Yes, it is.
He might call and he just assumes Dan would have already called with a better hand. Dan does call.
I got a 10.
Wonka's unsure if he wins, you see.
Wow.
Nice value for Wonka, and
Huge
Digital
value.
Dan is reeling in a way that I don't think we've seen before.
Yeah, I saw Digital Dan just lose 3 straight pots, and it seems like he is playing, for him anyway, a little erratic. For him. Now, a lot of players we've seen other players take these lines that he's taken, but we don't see him take these lines.
Well, I thought it's a good line with the ace-10, and then
I like the line with ace-10.
Elwood just made a read.
Right.
It worked out.
But then after that, he did the overflowed out of position with 7-6 for no reason. And he just decided to call down Wankel when Wankel was showing strength at every spot for no real reason. Maybe Digital Dan had a reason. I shouldn't say that. But when you put it all together, I think it's an emotional game.
And it's an emotional amount of money that Digital Dan has lost now in the game. 3.4K. That's a pretty big loss to be taking right now.
And as you see, Wonka, basically on the strength of that one hand, is zoomed into the lead for cumulative winnings.
On that board, it was tough to dodge all the flushes.
I know. I mean, somehow Joe and the guy next to him is always fucking does this shit. And they play so bad too, and they still dodge.
Nice hand, man.
Just over 14K in the pot. The turn is the 4 of diamonds.
Hey, what is that? Speaking of turn, coming around the mountain? Is that the Nitrogen Sports Poker train?
I think they did buy a train recently.
If you listen, you can hear its very familiar jingle. And choo-choo. Wait, there's the jingle. Nitro, nitro, nitro. Nitro, nitro, nitro.
Wow, that's the weirdest ad ever all of a sudden. Anyway, Nitrogen Sports Poker Room is, they let us do ads like this.
They
perhaps
do.
because they don't listen to them.
Free reign, baby. Nitro, nitro, nitro. Nitro, nitro, nitro.
Ooh, thanks.
Sorry, it costs you more money, and it's still dodging flush on that place. Oh, it's just a pair. What?
And we're back, and maybe that ad would just put a little little water on Dan's fire, cool him down with the sweet, sweet sounds of that ad.
I wasn't too scared of him having a flush on that board.
Oh, goodness.
Chris wakes up with jacks in the hijack here, and Joe has a hand, so he's going to call.
And by has a hand, you mean just 2 cards.
Two
that were
cards, yeah.
dealt to
He's
him,
got cards.
That is technically called a hand. It's
Yeah.
true. Of course, he's not calling every hand, just most.
Just like 73%.
Somewhere between 66 and 73, I think is right. Wankel probably thinking about another squeeze possibility here.
Wouldn't work this time. I don't think he would get 4-bet, though, so it might work in the end,
But Wankel
he just folds.
He's just dancing through the raindrops right now. All decisions are correct for Wankel.
That might have just been a lucky I'm stacking chips fold.
Whatever. All decisions are working for him right now.
I'm unplugging.
Even though we all think we're better than the I'm stacking chips fold, I think some of us do it still anyway.
Sure.
They just want a big pot. I'm folding a hand I'd usually play.
I don't know that Wankel would usually play that hand. I mean, I think he's probably 3-betting or folding that hand. So
I think you can flat the small blind when the hijack opens with ace-10 off.
I don't think Wankel is.
Maybe he is, though. You've
I don't think
seen
we-
him
I
do
don't think
many
we-
surprising things.
That's true. That's true.
Joe's going to raise with the 8-9 here.
Joe is just surprising.
I mean, he plays a lot of hands, but at least he gives himself a chance to win with a lot of these hands, even when the board has absolutely nothing to do with his hand.
I mean, this is a super tough spot for Chris right now.
I mean, this is kind of a random bluff by Joe, and
Yeah.
he's fortunate that Chris doesn't have a queen or better, but it puts Chris in a tough spot unless he has a queen or better, so that's good.
It's great.
10 seconds.
Chris is thinking about it.
What is he calling me? He's putting you on nothing.
In theory, jacks are probably too good to fold, but I think Chris is thinking, is it possible that Joe just has it way too much here?
Is
very bluffy?
Joe the type of guy who's going to raise top pair every time? And I think the answer
Right.
might be yes.
Me too.
And if you're against that type of guy with jacks on this board, it's not such a good spot.
It's not so good.
A lot of players won't raise top pair here. You and I mostly won't raise top pair here.
Mostly not. But
Yeah.
Chris does call, and let's see if Joe keeps going or not. Because now this is a tough spot for Joe.
It's a tough spot for both players, really.
Well, it's only tough.
Poker is pain.
It's only tough for Chris if Joe decides to keep firing, though.
5-6 just got there, which is the major hand that that Chris was hoping Joe had when Joe raised here.
And Joe checks. Looks like that's a give up. 6 on the river, so a 5 is now a straight all by itself.
Joe could still have 5-6, but it's unlikely.
You'd expect him almost always to bet the turn with 5-6.
Looks like Joe's going to go for it.
Now he's going to take a shot. He bets big, 350.
He's kind of saying he has a queen. It makes a little bit more sense than 5-6, which is a weird thing to bet, although Chris doesn't have much as far as straights are concerned.
I think if you're Chris, I'm always afraid in this spot, like I'm going to make this call and just be shown 2 pair, like queens up, like queen 6 suited or something ridiculous. Joe gets away with one, though.
Yeah, nicely done, Joe.
Boy, there's been more larceny in this session of Poker Time, this episode and the last 2, than I think we've ever had in Poker Time.
Yeah.
It's great. These guys are really playing the game.
Now that was a really shitty fold. Does anyone ever say that?
Bad fold. Yeah.
No, I wasn't saying that to you. I was just saying that.
That would be
It
weird.
would be funny, but
It would be
also
yeah.
annoying.
I wasn't saying that about
I
it.
don't know.
True answer, though. Funny, but annoying.
Fold. Fold.
All right, who's bluffing this hand?
Bad fold.
Fold.
That's a good.
Digital Dan giving himself some hands off now. I like to see that.
I mean, he's not going to play the queen 7 off anyway.
I mean, you would have said he wouldn't have called the 7-6 suited after it went bet call on the
That
flop,
was like a
right?
more sophisticated plan than I'm going to play queen 7 off pre-flop. Jonathan's making a face as if that's untrue.
I don't know if it's true.
It's true.
I think you can ascribe it to be true. It doesn't mean it was actually true.
So we just call him a 7 high because he's tilting on the flop of ace 9 3.
No, he's like, I'm just going to make a play and sort of not thinking about any more than that. I don't know what he was doing. It just seems like there's a lot going on there.
Wonka just calls the ace queen against Joe here. Joe did make it 60.
Yeah.
That's a very large raise.
Yeah.
Strange sizing.
Well, Joe better hope he doesn't flop an ace because it's going to cost him some.
No
Well,
ace.
That's a good flop for Joe.
Joe might get to win.
Joe should be betting this board.
Wankel has no hearts in his hand, so he's probably not going to try to do anything.
It's 80.
I fold. Nice hand.
Wankel kind of wishing he 3-bet pre-flop, kind of not wishing he 3-bet pre-flop. Not sure.
It's not a big deal, though.
Yeah. It's just $60, whatever.
Yeah.
Wipe my butt with $60. Who cares? Yeah, I'm Jonathan Levy. I'm made of gold.
Joe had 68% for
Okay.
his VPIP. So
That's pretty good. That's pretty high.
doing, as you see, he is a full more than 50% higher than our next highest VPIPper, Elwood, who's a shock. He is, of course, was the tightest player in the game back in the day. Also raising more than anyone else.
This is an interesting thing too. Did you see Nino at 0 pre-flop
I did
raise?
not. So when he plays, he limps.
Yeah.
That is really something. Has he done any limp raises? I don't think he has.
No, he has not. Hey, Chris has kings. Chris seems to be sizing it at 50 with everything.
Well, he sized it at 50 with the ace-6 anyway.
Yeah.
I know that. And they got to show the 6, so that's kind of cool.
Joe's going to play, right?
No. Throw it away, Joe. Joe throws it away.
Gave it a thought.
Yeah.
Fold. Fold.
Wheels got a reasonable hand.
Small
It is in
blind,
the
though.
small blind, and it's over.
That's too bad.
I thought Wheel was going to play.
That's too bad for Chris.
Chris with kings picks up 3 red chips, and
After setting it all up with the ace-6,
Yeah.
doesn't get the action.
he did get to win at least with the ace-6 hand.
Yeah, that
so
was
that's
great.
Good. Won $300 in that pot. 315 actually.
$10. Bet fold. Just say bet fold.
It's a bit full.
I'm doing it in my
Well,
head. I'm like,
what-
it's only
what better than you
$10.
jack
2, 5, 10.
Jack 9 or Jack 10 wasn't good. I had a pretty high.
I just sold it for $10.
You're like, what have I done?
I was expecting somebody else to call.
All right, Chris is going to make it 50? Nope. Not with the 8 deuce.
Joe is $2, right?
Someone said $40.
All right, Joe, let's do it.
Even Joe.
Come on, you got to win
No,
this. You
you
got to win the
can't.
VPIP war.
Joe, it's just for the story.
This is how you win the VPIP war. VPIP, of course, is basically how many hands you choose to play pre-flop. Hands you weren't forced to play.
Raise.
And Joe is very good at doing a lot of that.
Wheel's going to do the small raise, basically just the isolation raise.
I don't know if it's big enough to isolate.
Well, it sure didn't
Because
work.
Nino 3-bet. That's his first pre-flop raise.
How about that? And it's a 3-bet with Queen Jack off. Well,
I mean,
he's probably using his image well.
He read correctly into wheel sizing, I think.
Yeah, probably.
What the fuck?
You guys said bad hand or bad fold or whatever.
Huh?
Which one? Bad raise, bad fold. That's it?
It's my favorite. What we talking about?
That's your favorite hand.
This is my bad fold.
Are you gonna fold your favorite?
Wheel.
Well, you know,
But you had
I have pocket 3.
doesn't play good in there.
shit.
Wheel is offended by the bluff.
It sucks to be bluffed.
Yeah.
I understand. I hate it.
Yeah.
I was sitting there going,
Your
that's like
favorite hand gets
$23,
into a home
right?
run.
It was borderline.
What do you think's getting? What do you think's worse, getting bluffed or getting thin value bet correctly and like, getting owned in that way?
Oh, wow. I think usually I'm hurt more by the bluff.
I think I'm hurt more by the thin value bet if it's
Yeah.
by like a good player who is intentionally thin
Yeah, of course,
value betting,
of
not
course.
like I own myself.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally different.
Yeah. It hurts so much when they bet like ace-8 on the jack 10 8-4-4 board and I call with 8-9 for like half my stack on the river. And they're like, I knew I was ahead with ace-8, you idiot.
Probably don't see that scenario play out too often.
It's tough to find that scenario.
The jack 10 8-4-4 board where they bet half your stack on
I
the
mean, it
river
would
and you
have to
call.
be based on very specific dynamics and the way the hand went down.
But I hear what you're saying. Okay, open ender for Elwood, but not a great open ender.
Chris has a 7. Joe's got a
Gut
gut
shot.
shot.
And an overcard. Let's give him credit for the overcard. Elwood decides to call. It's only 20. And the best hand folds.
Heads up.
I know when to play.
Gets there, but it's he's not super happy to get there.
Or
he
also
gets a
picks
diamond.
Yeah,
which is
diamond
nice.
draw. And then when it goes check, check, he likes that. I was going to say, watch out for the jack.
Well,
There's the
now it's a
jack.
chop unless Joe wins, basically.
Elwood could check raise, but I think a bet is going to get called. And he checks. Joe checks it right back. And Chris is going to be unhappy to see that he folded the best hand.
Although he would have chopped.
He's still going to be unhappy.
It talks to me.
It's going to set that cat NBA shirt on fire and never wear it again.
No! Don't let him do that.
That's what he does when he's angry.
He sets the shirt he's currently wearing on fire?
Yeah, while he's wearing it.
Does he take it off?
It depends how angry he really is.
If
It
he's
depends
really
on
angry,
the depth of vitriol.
Yeah.
There are 2 diamonds on the turn?
On the 10th one.
So he looks kind of like Jorah Mormont?
I just saw a lot of red.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of. Boy, Zach really had Joe in big trouble in that hand. Joe had just a few chop outs and nothing else, but I guess it's a pretty small pot.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Who cares? That's what you say if you're cool.
And Joe is now.
He's going to break the record.
I think
by
he's
a
going.
lot.
Yeah, he's not just trying to set the record. He's trying to set a record that is not going to be broken.
Yeah.
You know.
He's trying to run a 7-second 100-meter dash.
It's going to be decades before anyone comes close. Digital Dan, I like this.
Yeah, makes sense. Let's get the riffraff and crumb bums out, as Norman Chad would say. But nope, that's not going to work.
Well, Riffraff -- 1 sticks around. Let's see
Elwood's
about-
not riffraff. He's set mining.
Sure. And Chris does go away. The crumb bum leaves.
Absurd call by Joe. And he gets the best hand.
He gets the best hand. But if Dan bets, it's not a great spot for Joe.
It's not.
But Dan checks.
You know, Dan's having one of those sessions where he's just like, of course that's the flop
Yeah.
when I have 2 8s here. Of course. Joe's going to bet.
And I assume Dan is just going to throw
I don't
it
know
away.
what the purpose of this bet by Joe is, honestly.
To find out where he is. That's my guess.
What does that mean?
He's going to bet and then get some information about what other people have. And if they fold, great. And if they don't, then he'll know not to put more money in.
Okay.
That's
seems
all
like,
I got.
Seems like a bad plan.
That's all I got.
Well, I did the conversion. I'm like,
He's not getting called by worse hand. We know that.
I really did.
Nope.
Maybe 2 10s will call because they have a gut shot. Maybe.
Was there a draw on the flop? Were there 2 diamonds on the flop?
No.
Then I got nothing.
Yeah, no draw.
Hey, he's getting value out of 2 10s, though. It's pretty sweet.
Maybe. We're not sure.
Or you fold out the hand with some equity.
Helpful if you guys just yell it out. Be like, this is $4.
I'm still waiting for him to go break.
Fold.
Like 3 hours, man. I'm still suffering over here.
He's the tells expert, right?
We know Nino isn't going to raise. That's the only thing we know for sure.
It's all these 2 guys over here. Look at that. It's like Portland. PDX.
He did not. Chris is going to raise with the computer. And, oh, wait. It has to be offsuit.
Suited, yeah.
So I just ruined.
Yep.
I waited years to do that.
Cool.
Just pulled the trigger at the wrong time.
Yep. So, don't worry. No one noticed. So, by the way, Joe just called the raise with the 10 deuce off.
I mean, it's only 20 at least.
And he does flop best.
Joe's good at flopping best. He's going to
And he's
lead
gonna
because he
lead.
always leads.
It is amazing. the
Whenever
amount
he
of
has
leading.
anything, he leads. And it's kind of crazy.
Chris thinking, should I fold? I could call and rep an ace that way. That's what it looks like what he's going to do. Ace
Yeah.
or kings or queens or jacks, any of that.
He's seen enough of Joe to think that Joe doesn't have to be very strong here.
He also does have 2 back doors, makes this float a little bit better. And there's a queen. He actually turns the best hand. I got to believe Joe's checking. Let's see.
It's funny when your plan changes when you hit the weird card. They're like, well, now I'm going to look kind of like a jackass when these hands are turned over and I win. But whatever. I had a plan. You guys have to believe me. I had a plan. But I hit a queen, so the plan changed.
Yeah. Joe is going to bet here. This
I
is a
don't know
strange
why.
bet.
Why is he betting? Is he trying to fold out jacks?
I mean, that's a weird idea. If you're trying to follow jacks, you got to bet the turn, right?
He's trying to get called by 9s then?
That makes more sense to me than fold out jacks.
I think he's just betting.
I mean, Chris is thinking, but yeah, he's always calling this.
10.
Don't worry, Joe. He's going to bet the turn if you didn't hit it.
Yeah.
You're probably going to fold anyway. Of course, it cost you $80. So there is that.
It did.
Nice hand.
What am I ace 3 at? I wish I had both called Joe's
Just
raise.
$16.
JC is back.
All right, Joe's going to be in the small blind. What are the odds that he plays the hand?
You know,
Including all scenarios, of course.
of course.
Well, You want 4-1?
That I'm saying he doesn't play the hand. 4-1.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can't do it. 3-1 you don't take though.
I would take 4-1.
Yeah.
Nice for raising.
Nice hand.
Fold.
It's only a 5% difference. What do you care?
What do you care then?
I do care.
I
don't
care.
pretend I don't care.
I wasn't
Joe,
pretending.
play the hand. Play the hand,
Of
Joe.
course he's gonna play the hand.
Don't throw it away.
Just the two of us.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's just
I'm gonna let.
Wonka could still raise.
That counts as playing the hand once he limps.
No, it doesn't.
What are you talking about?
This-
He V-pipped. That
No.
counts.
That's
what world
different
are you?
than playing the hand.
What world are you living in? Where
I thought
playing the
I-
hand doesn't mean V-pipping. What does it mean? You have to get to the river.
I thought he was gonna have to
What
get
are
to
you,
the flop.
insane?
I thought he was gonna have to see a flop.
Why?
Because that's playing the hand. All right, so Wonka flops best.
I can't believe how wrong you are about this definition.
You are just like this all the time. So
I'm wonderful all the time.
Joe is not folding.
What is happening?
We need to focus on Joe.
Okay,
Enough
Joe.
of our little petty squabbles. Good Lord.
Oh my God! What is Joe doing to the world?
In Joe's mind, this is what Chris did to him in the last hand.
Yeah.
So Wonka's got to be sitting there thinking, well, a king never changes anything. Almost never, I should say. Turns out it changed something. Yum, yum. It's got to be Joe's thought, the restaurateur.
Wonka is still betting for value, by the way.
Of course he is. Joe cannot fold. Wouldn't. Oh, no, he's going to raise.
Well,
That seems like a mistake.
that seems like a big mistake.
Although
Wonka might call with a 7, then it's not such a big mistake.
it's
I
such
guess.
a weird play. Maybe it's going to work. Wonka has the 8 of hearts in his hand, which he doesn't really want to have in his hand.
If you're Wonka, you're thinking, okay, this guy's raising King Deuce and King 6 mostly. Those are the hands that make the most sense.
Those make a lot of sense. I guess he could have 6, 7.
But he might have raised or bet the flop.
I think Wonka might call because of all the draws that are out there. And
Well, Joe's getting maximum
Joe
value.
is playing this fine, and we were killing him for it, but we were wrong. He got the call. And
The heart comes in. That shouldn't matter
one-
too much.
I mean, I think Wonka may fold on the river now that the heart came in, though, is the thing.
Because Joe could have, what, 8, 9 of hearts? Something like that?
Or just hearts, period.
That he check called the flop with? Yeah, I guess so.
A deuce with hearts. And Wonka realizes is not what he wanted Joe to have there. Wonka probably knows that Joe is capable, though, of raising with nothing, as we've seen.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that's part of the call as well. It was blind versus blind,
Yeah.
so that's good.
Get the least information about your opponent's hand when it's blind versus blind limp pot pre-flop.
Yep.
You know it's usually not a monster hand, but sometimes if they're tricky, it can be.
Especially for the big blind.
Yeah. Wheel with the 10s.
But Sean, I know I've told you multiple times.
There's some yelling going on, and people are interested.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to see a fracas.
I mean, I'm down with fracases.
Out there as in downstairs? No, right out.
Call.
Joe's got the 5s.
Luca has one of those, I guess I call.
Yep.
Price closing the action type of spots. And, wow, that looks like a good flop for Luca.
It's going to hurt a little bit for Luca.
Does-
Joe might call as well when Wheel
Yeah.
bets here.
Totally reasonable for Joe to call as well. See, wheel often size is really big in these spots. Let's see if he does.
It's 80.
Pretty big. Not huge, but pretty big.
Yeah. Not like pot, though. He sometimes will bet pot or nearly pot. Joe is going to call. There's no way Luca's just going to fold top pair.
No, you got to call at least once. See what happens.
Might be thinking about raising.
I mean, Wheel did raise under the gun. That seems a bit ambitious.
It wouldn't be about wheel. It'd be like hoping wheel folds and just trying to get value out of Joe, right? And thinking like wheel did raise. Oh, wow.
Luca just lets it go.
He was not thinking about raising.
Well, he was right that time. Wheel did have
What
the
a
overpair.
fold.
Nobody wanted to see that card. Least of all Joe. Wheel could have a lot more kings, although Joe does call with a lot of stuff sometimes.
So
it looks like Joe's going to bet here.
You know, Wheel opens the barn door, and Joe's going to ride his horse right on through it.
What's the horse's name?
The horse's name is Trigger.
Oh. I thought you were going to say that the horse's name was also Joe. Because that'd be cool. If I had a horse, I would name it Grant.
Huh. I've never even considered something like that. Hey, look, the board just gets worse and worse. The spade comes in as well.
If Joe bets here, it's clearly a bluff now. It's not for protection.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can't protect against anything on the river. I believe his turn bet was for protection.
Just trying to decide if maybe he should bet. I think a bet might just get through. It probably should, but he's going to give up.
8's good. 7's good. 10s are really good.
Luca's got to feel so good about himself right now.
Yeah.
Just staying out of the way.
Wheel feels really good, too, on that terrible run out that he gets to win a pretty sizable pot.
Yeah.
I don't know. You seem pretty determined. Yeah.
This is the Joe Show, man. This episode is the Joe Show.
Reminds me of that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, as we see Wheel is the big winner, along with Wanka, and Digital Dan
is getting bludgeoned.
Very big loser as of now. There's still time to turn it around, Digital One. You have another hour episode after this one, which will conclude the session. So you can still make chicken salad out of chicken feathers.
I hear that. I love when people say that.
Joe with an actually good hand.
Yeah. Playable hand. Makes sense.
Completely playable.
Makes it 60. That's
Wow.
his new sizing is 60.
So big. Well, it's harder to play speculative hands against him as a result.
They said they wouldn't invite me back, so.
Luca's thinking about making a move, it looks like.
Definitely a 3-bet spot if he's going to play. And he
there it
does.
is.
It looks like 200 there,
Yep.
right? And I imagine Joe's going to call with this hand.
I don't know what Joe's going to do with this hand. He is in position. It's a good hand that flops well. You're going to have some stack to pot issues right away. He's going to call.
It's not bad stack to pot issues yet. I mean,
it's 5-1. It's not
Yeah.
the kind of hand that plays well with 5-1 stack to pot. Just looking for more like much better ones.
well, Luca wins, right? This is it. Luca wins the hand.
I mean, Joe sometimes does weird stuff. I am not counting him out yet. We've seen Joe raise for seemingly no reason. And let's see how Luca sizes this. Looks like he's going small as he should.
Going small. Good on this board.
125.
The problem is against a guy like Joe, that might induce a raise out of Joe.
Yep.
And you really don't want that this time.
Joe
And
is
Joe
reaching.
wow.
Is it a raise or a call?
It's a raise. Now, Luca has to have some 3-bets here against Joe. If he's seen Joe play for a while now.
The problem for Luca is he's also seen Joe raise on a 2-ace board with ace-5.
Yeah. And Joe just wins the pot with pure, unadulterated aggression.
Those are two guys just trying to steal from each other.
Joe outsteals the other stealer.
Yep. That's what I was going to say. You took the words directly from my mouth.
I am a wordsmith, and so are you, so it makes sense.
I was going to say that, too. It's weird.
What's the next thing you're going to say?
I can't. I'm not sure. I don't know until you say
Look
it.
at this piece of paper.
I was
What
going to
did
say
I write
that.
down?
Oh, my God.
It says, I can't. I'm not sure, for those who can't see.
Can we get a camera on that?
I'm sorry,
Can't get a
but
camera
we
on that?
can't, no.
Rose? No.
She's
still with us.
She's not with us anymore.
Oh, come on. We finally didn't fire an intern.
Yep. She fired herself.
Way to bring him back in.
Never forget about Al.
We don't have real interns, just in case anybody's worried about these people. Wanka, going to raise to 55. Going to isolate Joe here. I don't know if you want to right now. Joe's like a angry cat in a cage who's just swiping left and right. We got to hit something to feel good against him. Luca looks like he wants to... Maybe he recognizes the isolation happening and is going to try to re-isolate.
Looks like he is. And by isolate, we just mean steal.
Yeah.
Right. He's not really trying to re-isolate.
Oh, and looks like Nino just put in a call.
What?
He has
he's
queens.
got queens. Sure.
Well, that sucks. Luca's plan was all about Joe and Wanka, and there's just another guy over there who has queens.
Luca's already in give-up mode. Look at his face. He's like, oh, boy.
Well, 7-6 suited can flop well.
It can, and there are some. He's probably going to feel obligated to take at least a shot on the flop.
Oh,
wow.
Well, the ace kind of kills it. It doesn't help
Yeah.
the cause for Luca, but at least he gets to win the hand.
I already dark checked you before even the flop came. Call.
Wow, that was bizarre. He called before Luca put the chips out. Luca could have made it any amount he
Yeah, I
wanted.
think Luca could have gone all in there, right?
He should have gone all in.
Yeah.
That was a mistake by Luca.
Yeah.
Although again, these guys play with each other a lot, and he probably doesn't want to be that guy.
Nino's doing kind of the chest beating. I don't want you to bet thing.
Well, he called so fast.
Yeah.
That's generally a way to try and stop someone.
Got it. So why do you need more money from me? I'm a poker player. You have a career.
500, bet.
Of course it's 500.
500.
Nino's begging did not work. Luca bet anyway.
Luca's just wishing this guy has ace queen here, but he doesn't.
Now Luca realizes how unlucky he got that the ace came with the 2 7s, but you know,
Yeah.
pretty lucky that the 2 7s came at all. So
Super lucky. He shows the 7.
that's nice of him.
I mean,
You could show the 6.
Nino said call before Luca put the chips out. That's a real opportunity for
yeah,
Luca.
you could really just go all in there.
You can do anything. You can bet $1,000 that you're allowed to do anything you want there. And again, I sort of get why Luca might not want to do that, as there's a metagame considerations. But wow,
It would be Nino's fault.
of course it would.
He raised, you raised.
I'm sure there would be a floor call and like an argument over it.
I'm sure there would.
I don't know how the floor would rule. I don't know how floors are generally a bit too generous in my opinion in spots like that.
How are they supposed to rule anything other than
It's like the amount that
Luca-
Luca had in his hand when
Luca's hand was still on his chip stack?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And even so, he can have any amount he wants in his hand before he puts it out there. He can change his mind. He's thinking about it.
Well,
Maybe they would argue Nino gets to take it back because the action changes, because like there isn't actually a bet out there yet, so there's nothing for him to actually call.
Yeah,
That's possible.
That's possible.
Okay, that actually might save him. That's fair.
Check.
Don't do that at home.
Yeah. You're asking for trouble.
Check. That's right.
Got an ace for Nino as the best hand here. Now wheel has a king.
45 to bet.
Nino's going to start betting. I think wheel will probably call. Joe hasn't folded yet. He's got a gut shot.
Joe's going to call with his gutter.
Well, now wheel might fold.
Yep. He does also have the queen of clubs, so maybe he's thinking he can rep clubs or one to comp.
I mean,
perhaps.
it's not really that great of a blocker.
But it's a blocker.
Sure.
Anyway, wheel calls as well, and that may cut down on a lot of the plans here.
I don't think anybody's going to bet this river unless Joe does. No, Nino's going for value. Really thin value, and it'll be pretty impressive if it works and wheel calls.
Well, first of all, he does have the best hand. That's a big start.
Yeah.
Joe gets out of the way, and now what does wheel do?
Wheel might assume that Nino's tilting.
See, Nino just like winked at somebody.
I think it
Was
wheel.
it Luca? Wheel? And he does
wheel
call.
makes the call. Nice value from Nino.
Unbelievable value. Look at this face. Nino sort of can't believe he won.
Was he thinking he was bluffing? It was a great value bet, Nino. Be proud.
Well, it's sort of like when Wankel went all in with Queen 10 and Dan called him and he said, I have a 10.
I have a 10.
Like, I think I'm good, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Hacemos el Samsung.
Huh?
Hacemos el Samsung.
Shit.
Man, I'm just thinking about that hand for Luca. Those spots are so incredible where you have this whole plan based on certain players at the table. You put in a bunch of money pre-flop, and there's another guy who calls, and you're like, well, that ruined my whole plan. Then you flop amazingly well, and how good that feeling is.
Yeah.
Such an incredibly good feeling.
Boom.
Like a second chance at life.
And even got the insta call when he started to bet.
Yeah.
On the flop. Pretty good also.
Okay.
Top
Nothing.
two. Top two for Joe. What do you
Nothing
mean?
for anybody else.
Nothing except for top two. Not going to
Best
get any
pot.
action.
And unless Chris has dastardly deeds in his mind.
Got a backdoor straight draw.
Joe's sad.
Joe sad.
He shows it.
Oh, finally you got a hand. All right, that was not going to work. Good thing I was taking a little turn.
Well, if you play all of the hands like Queen 5, you will hit 2 pair sometimes.
That is true. Really, any hands you play, you'll hit 2 pairs sometimes.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same frequency.
I think that's accurate, yeah.
An ace, I don't.
Aren't there like more deuces in the deck than aces, though?
Well,
it's harder to get aces than deuces.
Yeah, but that's nothing to do with your frequency.
Right, of course.
All right, Joe's under the gun, which of course means he played that Queen 5 off, not in a blind last hand, by the way. He was +1.
And it also means, of course, that he's playing the ace 4 off under the gun.
Well, of course it does. Just in case for all you wondering out there, what's up? Now you know.
Nino also with ace 4 off.
Yep.
Got a lot of 4s out there.
No, I know.
All right, well, 6-handed.
Big ace.
I was hoping.
Hearts would be bad for wheel. Got 2 ace 4s, 2 king 9s.
Somehow a 4 comes. And nobody's got a 10.
It was funny. Every time I ask you a question, you charge me later on the fucking table.
I mean, Wheel's got a million people behind him, so he just gets out of the way.
Nino could also fold for the same reason.
I think he might, with this many people behind him. You're not really into flop a 4 on this board with a million people behind you, I don't think. Nino was playing tight at the beginning of this session, but as these episodes have gone by, he's definitely loosened up. But looks like everyone's just going to get out of the way.
The Joe train cannot be stopped right now.
Oh, I was going to say, so Curb Your Enthusiasm had an episode, I think in its 8th season, where a character was named Mocha Joe.
Okay.
You know who that is?
Look
He was
at
the
it.
coffee guy.
Hold on. Joe's up to 72%.
72! Amazing. Amazing. It's more than double Digital Dan, who is number 3 on the list.
It's pretty good.
It's so hard to do that. But he's done it. 72. Can he stay over 70?
I think he can.
I think he can.
I have faith.
I think he's going to keep going. I think he's going to go over 72. I'm saying above 72 by the end.
That's not a bad guess.
I don't see this train slowing down anytime
He only
soon.
grows in strength as we move on.
Exactly. He's like Super Saiyan. Saiyan?
What
is that?
Supers.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Superman?
It's an anime thing, I think. Maybe a video game thing. It's unclear.
I don't know what you're
Final
talking
Fantasy? I don't know. Someone out there knows and is very frustrated with me right now.
That's
But
too
to
bad
everyone
for them.
else, they're with me. We don't
Well,
know
it's
what-
too
we don't know
bad
what
you
I'm saying.
frustrated a nerd. Too bad, nerd.
Nerds are cool now, bro.
Yeah, nerds are cool.
Everyone's a nerd now.
It's really
All the-
cool when I take their lunch money.
All right.
All right, so
Middle pair and bottom pair are here. Joe, by the way, did play the hand.
Yeah.
In case you're wondering. But, of course, it's reasonable that he
yeah,
did.
you can call 6-3 suited out of the big blind for a reasonable raise. Yeah, it's gonna be tough to get more value for Wheel. I don't expect him to go for more value unless he improves, and that's kind of a death card.
Unless Wheel's trying to fold out a queen.
Then it's a happy card, but I don't think that should be
Is
the
Joe
plan.
going to lead here?
I've seen him do stuff.
Oh, no, he checks. He really was thinking about it for a while.
There's the board. There's
And there's Wheel.
Wheel is going to try to fold out a queen because I don't see any other purpose to this bet.
Or maybe a better 10?
9, you mean? But yeah.
Yep. Better 9. Well,
The problem is that Joe could have flushes here.
he doesn't.
Yeah. I don't think that was a value bet from Wheel. I think it must have been a bluff.
I think so.
Slightly strange bluff, but bluff nonetheless.
You know, when you got one of those middling hands and you bet twice, sometimes you fold out some of those other middling hands, some of which are better, some of which are worse.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, but it's nice to win the pot.
It's all in the ether, man.
The Ether Man? Who is that? Is that one guy?
Ether Man.
It's all in the Ether Man?
Famous for his ether.
It's like Slender Man, but he's made of ether instead of slend.
Slend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slenda? Isn't that the sweetener? Slenda?
Yeah.
It's really sure it is. And he's made of that? Slender Man? He's like their mascot.
Yeah.
You like how I said that? Nino is really interested in his phone, but you do have 2 cards. There we go. There we go.
There we go.
This hand is open for Chris.
What
And-
Rose would be telling me if she was still with us is that this is the last hand of the
it is.
episode.
Okay. And where is Rose?
I don't want to get into it. It's,
Is she?
it's sad. Wonka's going to call with the 7-4.
3 pairs. We got to check.
Dark check from Joe, and Wanka has flopped a gut shot.
Chris with top.
Looks like Wonka's going to lead. That's kind of cool.
Yep. This is the kind of board that Wonka does best on, meaning his big blind calling range.
Except that Joe's in the hand, so Joe also does well. But
Well-
Joe's got more hands than Wonka overall.
Joe also chose not to lead. We know he often will lead when he likes the hand or is
he
interested.
checked dark.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Well, fine. Chris calling, and
I imagine Joe will fold.
I got to believe he's going to fold this one.
Got a backdoor straight draw.
Maybe he's going to raise. He does some surprising things.
He lets it go.
Well, a 6 would really be Wonka's friend here. That's all he's got to draw to right now. Oh,
Well, Joe would have gotten there, and now Joe feels like he should just play every hand ever. Even more than 72%.
yeah, I was going to say. Wonka's thinking, do I fire again? He does not. He didn't like that Chris called there on the flop.
Chris could bet for value / protection. Looks like that's what he's doing.
Yeah, you can charge like the 6 7s of the world, 4 6s of the world, and in fact, the 7 4s of the world.
Yeah. And get value from worse 8s.
Absolutely. Wonka's going to have to let this one go, and we are going to have to let this episode go. I like that. I like how I did that.
It was great.
Of course it was great. All right, see you next week.
Wow.